He was born in Matamoros, Tamaulipas, a place already haunted by the quiet hum of border life and the shadows it breeds. Mario Ramírez Treviño, later known by his alias X-20, did not come from power. He earned it, slowly, ruthlessly. In the late 1960s, Matamoros was far from the battlefield it would become. Mario was just another kid, eyes sharp, voice low, raised in a family with few means but enough to stay afloat. He wasn't known for violence then. He was patient, reserved, but the streets were always watching, and he was watching them back. By the 1980s, the world around him had changed. Smugglers were moving more than liquor and tobacco now. Cocaine was turning border towns into corridors of silent war. Mario took notice. He wasn't flashy, didn't crave attention. He studied the way things moved. Trucks, cash, names, faces. He wasn't part of the game yet, but he understood it better than most. He started small, working in legitimate jobs by day and at night, making connections that would define his future. Mechanics, freight handlers, drivers, the ones no one ever sees but who make everything move. These were his people. By the early 90s, Mario was already a quiet operator for the Gulf Cartel. Not a hitman, not a drug runner, something in between. He managed logistics, routes, schedules. He was clean, efficient, and most importantly, invisible. He didn't carry himself like a capo. No gold, no noise, just method. His reputation didn't spread by rumor. It grew from results. And in a world where unpredictability got men killed, Mario's silence became his weapon. But nothing in Tamaulipas stays quiet for long. By the late 1990s, the Gulf Cartel was evolving. Ociel Cardenas Guillen had seized leadership and was building something heavier, more militarized. With him came the formation of Los Zetas, a break from tradition, a hybrid of drug trafficking and paramilitary control. Mario Ramírez Treviño wasn't a Zeta. He wasn't part of the flash and fear, but he was indispensable. He ran the quieter side of things, finances, coordination, communication. While others spilled blood, Mario moved weight. The kind of man who could calculate routes in his head, adjust timetables, shift supply without a single phone call. That precision earned him something rare in the cartel world: trust. When Ociel was arrested in 2003 and extradited to the U.S., the Gulf Cartel started splintering. Ambitions boiled. The Zetas wanted more. The older Gulf loyalists were watching their empire rot from the inside. And Mario, he stayed low. He didn't fight for the throne. He studied the chaos. Over the next few years, war erupted between the Gulf Cartel and its former armed wing, Los Zetas. Cities like Reynosa, Miguel Alemán, and Matamoros turned into war zones. Checkpoints, mass graves, nighttime gunfire that echoed across the river into Texas. Mario didn't rise through violence. He rose through absence. As lieutenants died or vanished, he kept moving the product, uninterrupted. He understood that power didn't always come from who held the gun, but from who made sure the bullets arrived on time. By 2010, when the war reached its peak, Mario had already secured the Reynosa Plaza, one of the most important drug corridors on the border. Cocaine, meth, heroin, all moved through his zone, and it moved clean. They called him X-20. No one really knows why. Maybe it was a code. Maybe it meant nothing. But it stuck. He didn't use armored convoys or armored bodyguards. He used decoys, radios, fake identities. When enemies moved east, he disappeared west. When authorities chased him south, he slipped north. And slowly, without firing a single bullet in public, Mario Ramírez Treviño became the most powerful man in Tamaulipas. By 2011, the war between the Gulf Cartel and Los Zetas was no longer a flare-up. It was full-scale. Border towns became battlegrounds, bodies stacked in trucks, messages scrawled on bedsheets and hung from bridges. Chaos wasn't an exception. It was the norm. But through that chaos, Mario Ramírez Treviño, X-20, didn't just survive. He expanded. He turned Reynosa into his fortress, not with walls, but with control. Mayors, police chiefs, federal agents, anyone who mattered had a price, and Mario paid it. He didn't roar. He whispered. People listened. Unlike others, he didn't flaunt women or gold-plated rifles. He dressed like a banker, moved like smoke. No music videos, no Instagram, just silence and routine. He rarely left Tamaulipas, and never stayed in one house too long. Internally, he cleaned house. Those who resisted his rise were eliminated or absorbed. He built a circle of lieutenants who weren't chosen for loyalty. They were chosen for usefulness. If they failed, they disappeared. He didn't invent the rules. He just enforced them better than anyone else. He controlled smuggling routes into Texas, McAllen, Mission, Brownsville. Thousands of pounds of marijuana and cocaine flowed monthly. Semi-trucks disguised as produce haulers. Couriers dressed as tourists. When the DEA hit one cell, another was already active. But it wasn't just about drugs. Mario understood perception. He kept Reynosa relatively calm, compared to cities like Nuevo Laredo or Ciudad Victoria. He punished street-level chaos. He taxed kidnappers, or had them removed. He enforced a cartel code that looked from the outside almost like stability. People feared him, yes. But some, quietly, preferred his rule to the random violence of others. His nickname grew darker. El Señor de Reynosa, the Lord of Reynosa. But nothing lasts forever. By 2012, the tides were shifting. The Mexican government, pressured by Washington, launched Operation Nuevo Tamaulipas. Federal forces flooded the region, backed by intelligence from U.S. agencies. The heat on X-20 was no longer just from rival cartels. It was from armies. But Mario Ramírez Treviño wasn't reckless. He vanished. His network scrambled. Safe houses emptied overnight. Phone lines went silent. Still, the man who built his empire on shadows couldn't disappear completely. Authorities caught whispers of his moves. Wiretaps, drone surveillance, informants deep in his ranks. His closest lieutenant, once trusted like a brother, turned. For the right price, secrets spilled. The fortress crumbled from within. In 2013, the arrest came, not in a shootout. No blaze of glory, just a quiet raid on a ranch outside Reynosa. They found him in a room, alone, with a cell phone. His empire, dismantled piece by piece. He was extradited to the United States, charged with drug trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy. But the story didn't end there. While locked away, his cartel splintered. Smaller factions bled for control. Violence exploded anew, far worse than before. Mario Ramírez Treviño's reign was over, but the legacy of X-20 was written in blood and fear. A reminder that in the shadows of power, nothing is permanent.
In the years that followed, Mario Ramírez Treviño's presence in Reynosa grew quieter. His hold on the city loosened, as new players emerged and the tides shifted. Though no longer the force he once was, the marks of his influence remain in the streets he once controlled. Captured and imprisoned, Mario's chapter closed away from the front lines. Around Reynosa, life continues, reshaped but never untouched by his story. This is the tale of X-20, a man who left his imprint on Tamaulipas,